It is. Hey, honeys and hunks. We're coming at you at a very odd time, but we like to keep you on your toes. So, today we are here with, as always, behind the ones and twos. We have Jade Auxiliary Things Johnson.
Hey.
So lots of things have been going on in the league. How easy has it been to keep track of everything that happens? Because it's not just on the court stuff; it's now off the court stuff now too.
Oh, easy is not the right word right now. Like the CBA, the closest end of season matchup I can remember in my life. Like there's nothing easy, but it's amazing.
It's been when I was looking stuff up for the Western Conference. It was a solid like hour and a half of me just trying to figure out how um how everything would work, because when we talk about it later, we're going to see that maybe it's not necessarily how many games you won, it's how you or which teams did you
Which
win
teams
against.
you beat, yes.
So that's where we'll be getting to that a little bit later when we talk about the Western Conference brawl. But you may notice, fans, honeys and hunks, that we are missing someone to our big three. Shay at Shay Watches NBA. Vassar is right now. She's currently on a trip to Australia desert, fighting off an army of marsupials. So all we know is that she is armed with a wiffle ball bat and is currently sending us Morse code through a pouch of a kangaroo. So medevac will hopefully be there soon so we can see her again.
Fingers crossed.
I have been waiting. I've been checking on those clicks all the time for the Morse code, but hopefully she can come back, because I don't know if I want her to be in that kangaroo pouch anymore. But so besides the world being crazy and being taken over by koalas, kangaroos, and wallabies, the NBA is just as crazy, from the Western playoff standings to the new CBA agreement that, well, looking at the numbers made me feel like I had a migraine that Scottie Pippen did in the playoffs in the 90s. So it's going to involve gambling, owning stakes in teams, getting involved with a little bit of the same business there, and then also about how ways teams are getting rid of players, how they're trading players, how they're signing players. All of this stuff is how it's set up. I and Jade, or Jade and I, we're going to try our hardest to figure out what is going on with numbers and percentages that way. So we're going to go right into this. So we're going to go to the Western Conference ways. Oh, actually, right before we start diving into stuff, don't forget to follow us on our social medias at Facebook and YouTube at Hardcourt Honeys, at Hardcourt Honeys on Instagram, and then at HC Honeys on Twitter. Okay, so Western Conference, we got a packed party. This is part 2, though. Since we did it last week, it's getting even more crazy. So, Jade, tiebreakers could be the thing that decides a lot of the playoff situation.
A lot, yeah.
How crazy is that the playoff position may not even be decided by your actual record, but tiebreakers and on who you beat?
Yeah, so in the course of, surfing the internet, Twitter, this is the time of year I really start reading articles. Usually I kind of skim articles most of the season, and this time of year I start reading them. And the one that jumped out at me this week was ESPN's explanation of what happens if there is a 6-way tie in the West, which at the time the article was printed a couple of days ago, was still possible that there would be a 6-way tie to finish the season in the Western Conference with 6 teams, I believe would have been at 500.
That'd be dope.
So that's crazy. But yes, it's so interesting trying to figure out, okay, if this doesn't happen, if that doesn't happen, how do they decide who's playing who?
Refs will decide about who the Lakers are.
pretty
one,
much.
Refs are going out. So we got Warriors the 5th, Clippers 6th, Lakers 7th, Pelicans 8th, my Wolves at the 9th, and the Thunder at the 10th. Thunder is pretty much that 10th seed, may switch between the Mavericks and Jazz because they're 1.5 games behind. But that's not the spot I'm interested in. Like I said, I'm right into that 5 5-9 right now.
Yeah.
So Warriors, their remaining schedule, they only got 2 games left, and it's Kings and Trailblazers. It's Warriors are at the Kings. Kings have already locked playoffs.
Yep.
So right now, are they going to be resting players? And also Wiggins will be back on Friday against the Kings. So will that be anything that could switch the Warriors' position around?
So there's a couple of things at play here for me. The Warriors have been a horrendous road team this season. So I don't see going into the Kings building, especially right now.
9-30. Sorry, just checking away. 9-30.
Yeah. So like that has to come into play, that they've been that like just terrible on the road, worse than the Raptors, which is saying something. And whether or not the Kings are resting, I don't know. I don't know if this is the year down the stretch that teams who have clinched are going to rest. I think they need all the momentum they can get, because whoever they play, it's going to be close. It's going to be a hard series. I think I'm going to predict it right now. We're going to see more 6 and 7 game series this playoffs than maybe ever. Like it is going to be a hard, grinded out, evenly matched, even in the early rounds. There's going to be no easy series. I predict 0 sweeps this year.
Oh no. Lots of 6 games. I think easily 6 games.
Yes. And Wiggins is important. Wiggins is they need to get him as much play as they can going into the playoffs. It was funny on Twitter yesterday. I saw a couple of posts of people like lamenting the fact that Wiggins is back, because Wiggins torched some people in the playoffs last year. He was really important to what the Warriors did. So it's going to be a good, I think, like, I don't, even this late in the season, everybody's got 2 games left, I believe.
Well, there's a couple that are 3, and I'm going to get into those in a second.
So 2 and 3 games left. I don't know how many teams are going to be resting anyone. I don't know. Like, so much is up in the air. So much still depends on these last couple games, even though it's I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, Kings have locked in that 3rd position pretty much.
Right.
So that's why I asked, because do you want to sit down Fox and Sabonis?
Yeah, maybe.
But then again, maybe those are players that want to play as much. I don't know. But okay, so the 6th seed, then we got the Clippers. And their last games are against the Lakers, Trailblazers, and the Suns. 2 of those 3 games are key. But I will also mention that they have lost to the Pelicans twice and the Grizzlies once. So at least the Pelican games are gonna hurt them when it comes to seeding. So
right.
Could you see the Clippers slipping down?
I can always see the Clippers slipping down. Like, that goes without saying. It's the Clippers. But like, also the Lakers. I don't know. I'm gonna sound like such a broken record. If I had to pick right now between Clippers and Lakers, who's gonna finish better, I gotta give it to the Clippers. I think I just don't trust the Lakers. I don't trust their health. I don't know, but like as I'm talking, I'm looking at the standings, and the Clippers have the same record. The biggest difference is the Lakers have won 4 in a row, and the Clippers have lost 2 in a row.
I was about to say the Lakers right now are finishing off. The refs and the Lakers are finishing off strong, real strong.
Let's not forget about the little helping hand.
Like let's not miss out on those FTs at the end of the game.
Yes. I was just gonna say it's a great time to remind everybody that as of a couple weeks ago, the Lakers had shot 400 more free throws. 400 plus 411. That makes my blood boil. Like, I don't know how. And the worst part of it is that the Lakers are at plus 411. The next team behind them, the Kings, was at plus 460 something, I want to say, or 160 something.
Yep.
So it's not even like there's the Lakers at plus 400 and someone at plus 380 and somebody at plus 320, and it's a scale. No, it's 160 free throws, 411 free throws. How can that be right? How can that be? Like, how did the league justify that?
I want to know how much of free throws is on the betting scale, is on that gambling scale, on the plus minus free throws.
Well,
I'm curious with that.
It helps on the spread too. I mean, I've been on the betting apps. The free throws are not the things most people are betting on.
Okay. I've never done that.
It's the point spread, it's the win-loss, blah, blah, blah. But like 400 extra free throws is gonna get you some more wins. Like it's crazy to me to wonder if the Lakers had been closer to the league average in free throws, even if the Lakers had been plus 160 like the Kings were. Would we be talking about them potentially making the playoffs? That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
Like
that is 3 games worth of points.
It's a lot of points. I mean, that's attempts, so that doesn't mean they hit all of those 411 extra free throws, but at league average, you figure if they hit 60% of them,
still more
70%. What is league average? 75 maybe from the line?
Something like that, 70, 75.
Yeah, so even at 75% of 400 free throws, that is so many points. Like my mind, it blows my mind that it's that much. And like, there's not everyone's just kind of taking it. I don't know.
It's a real up for grab thing. So then we're going to dive. So then we got the Lakers, which they play the Clippers tonight, then the Suns next day, and then they get to wrap it up with the Jazz. So where's the fairness in that? I'm just kidding. No, we have the Suns. They're going to be probably full strength getting KD ready for the playoffs. Clippers are still tooth and nails. Jazz are still trying to get into that play-in position.
For sure.
They are at that game and a half spot with them. Mavs are dropping off. I wouldn't be surprised if they shut down Luka and Kyrie with it. So with this remaining schedule for the Lakers, like, okay, we joke about with the ref situation, but since a lot of these
we joke? Are we joking? I don't know if I'm joking.
Like I said, I'm like 70-30 joking. Like, because I mean, the Suns are going to get their calls too.
Yeah, the Suns aren't plus 411.
I know, but at this point of the season right now,
that's true.
At this point of the season, it's one game right now. I could see that game at least being a little tight because you got Kyrie. Take 2. You got Kevin Durant. You got Devin Booker. You got Chris Paul. Ayton gets fouls drawn on him. So, do you see the Lakers slipping it all with this?
Anybody could slip. That's the crazy thing about where we are right now. 3 games left max in the season. A lot of teams only have 2 games left, and anything could still happen. Like, it's going to come down to the last games. Oops. There we go. It's going to come right down to the final games to figure out who lands where. And like you said before, record is going to matter less because I don't see any way some of these teams don't end the season tied. It's not going to be a 6-way tie, which was possible a few days ago, but there's going to be ties, and your record is going to take a backseat to other factors, which you don't think about during the season when you're a fan, certainly, but usually as a team, you're just like wins and losses. That's what's going to be most important. So I'm really curious to see what happens next season. If it's this close again, our team's going to have different strategies to bolster what usually as a win-loss would have been enough to determine your playoff seeding. If it's this close again at the All-Star game next year, I think teams are going to have to start looking at their matchups and looking at the matchups as must wins rather than the win-loss record total for the season, if it's going to matter that much.
Because I feel it's a time right now where teams are evening out. You don't have as many super teams as much anymore. So these tiebreaker situations might be the new trend of the league right now if the talent is spread apart from it all. But and then so that 8th seed, then it's the Pelicans. I'm personally scared of the Pelicans because the Timberwolves' last game of the season is against the Pelicans.
I mean, if you're not scared of the Pelicans a little bit, you haven't been paying attention.
They're 7-3 in their last 10 games.
Without Zion, let's remember that Zion's not played more than a handful of games all season, which is not surprising. What's surprising is how scary the Pelicans still are, even though he has not been playing.
It was a bunch of pieces that on paper should have worked great, and at first it was rough, and now they're finally finding pieces. They're away. I'm looking at the standings. Their away schedule is really going to kill them because they're 15-25.
Ooh, yeah.
They are 28-22 in the conference. Something that's going to get really at the Clippers and Lakers. Clippers are 24-25 against the conference. Lakers are 25-24.
Ooh.
When it comes to the tiebreakers,
it
then
matters.
goes to conference positions. Pelicans are 28-22, and my Timberwolves are 27-23.
Right.
So by the end of the season, Pelicans, depending on how they have been winning and how other teams been losing, could quite easily end up at that 5th seed. But so could Lakers, so could the Timberwolves. So at this point, does the play-in even matter? Yes, or does it matter even more since the teams are that close together?
I hate to say it, but I think it. Here's how I think of the play-in. The play-in tournament's purpose is to make the regular season competitive, and it's done that. As far as the actual playoff part goes, I don't think it's as important because you're only determining the 7 and 8 seeds, right? You're determining basically what we expect to be first round playoff fodder for your 1 and 2 seeds. They're going to be better games because the talent is better. Like, I don't think anybody wants to see the Thunder in the first round. I don't think anyone wants to see the Timberwolves in the first round the way they've been playing lately. I don't think anyone wants to see the Pelicans in the first round. So, like, the play-in to me in the playoff arena is not Like, I don't really care. To me, the play-in tournament's purpose is served during the regular season, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
All right, now I'm looking at Western Conference. So Suns are on a 6-game winning streak. Lakers are on a 4-game winning streak too. So that has also bolstered what's going on for them. But the Thunder, Mavs, and Jazz, they're all on 3-game losing streaks. So I feel, though, if you are the Nuggets, or not the Nuggets, if whoever is the 7th seed at the end of it, I don't know how scared I would be of playing the 10th seed.
I would be worried if it was the Thunder. I'm less worried if it's the Mavs or the Jazz.
Mavs are lost cause for the season. Lost cause.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, the play-in in the West, the team I'm most worried about is the Thunder.
Really?
Yeah, because
they're not even saying that as a Timberwolves fan.
No, it's not even. It's that thing that often happens when a team has no expectations. Like, the Thunder have no expectations. They're good because they've got all this young talent and they're clicking. But, like, nobody expects the Thunder to win a playoff series. They're just happy to be there at this point. Like, next season and the season after is when the Thunder's going to be a big problem. So I think there's a potential that people don't, just that complacency with the team that's like, oh, they're not important. Right? Even though we know they're good, that kind of thing can happen in playoffs. So I'm worried about that. And I'm worried about them being the kind of team that can just put together just a ridiculous night. And you never know when it's going to come. You never know. Like they can all be clicking at the same time pretty effortlessly. So like if I'm looking at that playing in the West, that's the team I'm most concerned about.
And they don't even have, they still got their, what would have been rookie, Chet Holmgren. Shout out to the hometown boy. He has been out the entire year with a foot injury. So they're only going to get better with it through age and through just being healthy. And then my Wolves we play both the Spurs and last game, like I said, the Pelicans. We have played horrible against bad teams. I think the Spurs have beaten us twice this year, and the Rockets, I think, maybe twice this year too.
But you also beat, like, your team is such a
backwards
weird
team.
Yeah, because like you beat the Nuggets twice, didn't you?
Yeah, we've lost to the Hornets, we've lost to the Pistons, we've lost to, but then we've beaten
You're
the
playing to
76ers.
you're playing to your competition. The Raptors did the same thing just before they kind of put it all together. They would hang with the best teams in the league and beat them and lose to the worst teams. Like they're just playing to their competition.
Because like my ideal situation for my Wolves is to land that 6th seed, not just because to avoid the play-in, but we'd be playing the Kings. We have had, if there's any high up team that has had issues with us all year, it's been the Kings. 2 of the games that we've played against the Kings, Sabonis fouled out.
Yikes.
Sabonis can't do, like, this is one of those times where I'm like, okay, this is where the Rudy trade has come into play.
Yeah.
He may not get a lot of blocks on Sabonis, but Sabonis can't post up. He can't do, Sabonis is an inside out player that's great at passing. Big man. He can post you up, but he can get muscled around. And when you got Rudy, as much as he can sometimes bug me, he's still a 3-time defensive player of the year. There's still some things left in him, but they're only 2 games away from being in that second position with the Grizzlies. But everything's been clicking for them lately. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. And then we just already got to the Thunder. This is just going to be a crazy end of this. I don't know what's more exciting. The beginning of the playoffs coming around, Christmas Day playoff or Christmas Day game, opening of the season, or right now, this kind of situation.
Like, how many times? So this is going to be our third playoffs or our fourth playoffs. And usually this time of year, we're like, we're just trying to fill in content because all the stars are resting, all the playoff positions are locked in. This is the first time since we've been doing this show that we have to actually talk about the end of the season. There's something to talk about. So, like you said, yeah, it's so exciting. Like, if this becomes the norm for NBA basketball, like, the NBA is only going to get more and more popular. I was just talking to somebody on Reddit, I think this week, or Twitter, who was saying it's so uninteresting that in basketball, only a handful of teams have won a championship in the last X amount of years. In hockey, a different team wins all the time, blah, 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 blah. And, this was on Facebook. And, like, there was the thing that we say, well, hockey's different. You play 3 full lines in hockey, blah, 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 blah. There's lots of differences. But if this is what we have in store for the NBA from now on, and I think it is, especially, we're going to talk about later some of the changes to the CBA. It seems clear to me, potential changes to that's important. Potential changes to the CBA, but it's clear to me that there has been a focus on we need to maintain this level of competitiveness. So between the play-in and if these new things come into play, which we're going to talk about later, the NBA is going to be so exciting all the time, and I cannot wait.
I had an article I wrote a couple of years ago, and it was exactly about NBA teams, franchises with titles. So Lakers and Celtics, I think it was like 34, 33 titles. So
Yep.
take out almost half of those titles.
Yeah.
Bulls got 6. Spurs got 5. Houston has 2 for sure. So you get all of that. That's almost 50 seasons right there.
Yep.
And try to think. So, and then there's one team, another team.
Mavericks,
That
Pistons.
the Pistons, they've got 3, but then like Mavs.
But the one-off Pistons, that one-off year, like that was 1 year they got it.
Oh, that 2000, yes, that team. Like, yep, just randomly. There's
Raptors. That team. I'm so glad I get to say the Raptors in this conversation.
It's so, and then forgot Golden State.
Yeah.
So you have this dynasty, and then you have
wherever LeBron was.
Yeah. So like Miami, they have 3.
Yeah.
Like the teams that have one, most of them have multiple,
more than one.
The only team, like one of the few teams I can remember off the top of my head right now, is Dallas.
I think Dallas and Toronto might be the only teams that have only one.
Like, I'm trying to think about even like history of the league, like going back like to the 70s and 80s and stuff like that.
That's when the Celtics and the Lakers were winning all those.
But the 76ers in the early 80s.
The Sixers, right? The Sixers must have more than one too.
Right. The Sixers, right before they drafted Charles Barkley, they had Julius Erving, Moses Malone, I think it was Mo Cheeks on that team. They won a title together. And then Larry Bird came in. And he's like, step aside, guys. Step aside, Eastern Conference.
My turn.
Step aside, Eastern Conference. Larry Legend's here. The hick from French Lick. That gross mustache. But no, but overall, yeah, it's the same teams. So yeah, at hockey, it's refreshing to be like every year it's who's going to be there.
Yeah.
Luckily, now the NBA is kind of shifting to that because, like we've been already talking about, talent spread out. There have been ideas for teams that are going to make it, but obviously, as we're seeing, things are changing quite easily right now. No one thought the Kings were going to be where they were.
Nobody saw the Kings coming. Nobody.
No one. If someone said that, they're lying to you.
They are lying. I don't care who they are, unless maybe on the Kings organization, but I don't think they even knew.
No, yes,
what was coming.
At third, I mean, like in the playoffs, maybe, but third seed in this tight of a Western Conference.
Let's put this into perspective. Last season, the 2021-22 season, the Kings finished 12th in the West with a record of 30-52.
If there is any other vote other than Mike Brown for Coach of the Year, they're lying.
Like, if that happens, I'm looking
at each conference and I'm looking at the coaches and I'm like, nope.
It's got to be a landslide. Like, if it's not a landslide, they need to overhaul the entire system.
The only coach, there's 2. Celtics coach, I can't remember his name, just because he came into a situation that he did. But
yeah. I guess, but see, here's the thing with me is that the Celtics
everyone expects the Celtics to do good.
Yeah, the Celtics were just in the finals.
And sometimes it's just that one coach change that switches it all, like with Golden State, where they had Mark Jackson and they were the 8th seed. And then they got Steve Kerr and they bumped into winning a title.
Yeah. And I mean, if it was a different year, if the Kings were still irrelevant, I'd be okay with the Celtics coach getting it. If the Kings hadn't done what they did this season, I could roll with that because I'm looking at all the other teams and I'm thinking most of the teams didn't make seismic changes to their rosters, the top teams. The Knicks added Brunson, but like other than that, they've got the same guys. The Cavaliers added Donovan Mitchell. Other than that, they've got the same guys.
They're just getting older though, so that they're
They're
just getting better.
right. Right. They're getting experience. But I expected the Cavaliers to be good getting Donovan Mitchell.
Exactly.
They had a solid
Cavaliers are only
squad.
gonna get better.
They added a number one. Like that was obvious. The Kings was not obvious. Being third in the West this season when it's been this competitive was not obvious. So like Mike Brown, you have the Hardcourt Honeys endorsement for Coach of the Year.
They also have the highest of offensive rating in league history. So
didn't the Mavs have that last season?
I don't know for sure, but this season they did for sure. And I have watched a couple games of theirs. I'm not going to say I've watched all of them or a good chunk of them. I don't want to be that kind of fan. But what I have watched, the passing game is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, it does help that Sabonis is a guy that averages 18, 12, and 5. So that really helps out your passing game when you have a big man that can do that.
It's been such a good year for me for players that I liked that hadn't been flourishing in their situations. Specifically Sabonis and Markkanen this year are guys that like we've always liked. We've always had our eye on them. And Markkanen, for me especially, I remember watching him on the Bulls his rookie year and being like, oh my gosh, like this guy is going to be such a problem. And then seeing Chicago not be able to use him and seeing him be in the wrong situation. So like, it's so exciting that all of this talent that us like really serious NBA fans know about is actually on display this year instead of, it's too bad that guy on that team isn't getting any recognition because the team's bad.
Well, because in Markkanen, when he was on the Bulls and then he ended up on the Cavaliers, where he just got lost in the mix because that's when they were still trying to get Kevin Love to work out.
Right.
And so it was just like, okay, you're a young guy to a guy that is
imagine if they'd have let Kevin Love go and they still had Markkanen in Cleveland.
But would he be used the same way? That's the thing.
I think it depends. So I read an article about Markkanen, and what happened in Utah was they saw what he did for Finland in EuroLeague.
Finland, yep.
And that was like, okay, so just do that here. And that's exactly what happened. They just said, whatever you were doing in Finland, we're just going to do that. And for Lauri Markkanen, it's a little bit of everything. He shoots, he passes, he rebounds, he plays in the paint, like he's everywhere.
It's that Euro player.
So it does come down to what the Cavaliers coaching staff, like this is a coaching win. And we like to criticize coaches and coaching teams a lot. It's easy as a fan to do. But like I think it's important to point out like this was the exact right decision that the coaches made to say, you know what, Finland knew what to do with you better than us, so we're just going to follow their lead. So kudos to the Jazz coaches. So yeah, there's no way to know if it would have been the same in Cleveland. I'm just glad it is what it is in Utah.
Going back to Sabonis, I'm glad that he's doing well because I watched his dad do his highlights. Man, if only his dad could have gotten to the league faster. If it wasn't for the tensions between the USSR and the States at the time. So if you want to talk about best passing big man, I'm sorry, Jokic. Arbanis Sabonis. He's got that. He's got, I mean, Larry Bird too, but no, like when you're talking a guy that's 7 foot, 300 plus pounds, and he's actually muscling up with Shaq while doing a behind the back over the shoulder pass to a Rasheed Wallace dunk. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. Well, like I said, we'd get to a meaty part with the Western Conference because there's a struggle, but there's another topic here that we really, actually, we got some home team weeks. Hometown. Throw me off since there's only the two of us this week.
Yeah, I know. We are switching it up. So, last week of the season, our last predictions for the 2022-23 regular season. The Raptors are one of the teams that have 3 games left, but we're going to start with the Timberwolves since we mostly talked about the Timberwolves already and what their situation is, what the week looks like. So, we're just going to do straight up predictions for the Timberwolves. You have left the Spurs and the Pelicans.
1-1.
Dang, you're back to back Saturday, Sunday afternoon games. I never see that.
1-1.
Win Spurs, lose Timberwolves, obviously. Or lose Pelicans.
Win Pelicans, lose Spurs.
Oh, right, because we talked about how the Timberwolves are playing to their competition.
And it's also a make or break game, too.
Right. All right, so on to my Raptors. So we are sitting in the 9th spot, I think.
Your 9th seed right now.
So like I still the Hawks are not cooperating with me at all in losing games so that we can pass them and have 1 play-in game instead of 2. We're currently still tied 40-39. The Raptors have, I believe, the harder schedule left, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. We have this week tonight at Boston, Friday at Boston, and our last game of the season Sunday home to the Bucks.
That's a dick move, NBA.
Right? I am not confident. Bro. I'm not happy about this finished schedule. On the other hand, so Atlanta's the team that's most relevant to our standings. Atlanta has the Wizards, the Sixers, and the Celtics. So they have a way better chance of finishing with 1 loss and 2 wins than we do. I'm going to say the Raptors have been playing better. They seem to be pulling things together a bit, but I'm worried
right now, last 10.
I'm worried about this. I'm worried about this end of season schedule. I'm not going to lie to you. I think we're going to win 1 and lose 2. I don't know which one we're going to win. I'm going to say we're going to win one of the games against the Celtics, the second game. So Friday, I think we're going to lose the other 2. And I think we are going to have to win 2 games to make the playoffs. That's what I think.
I'm looking right now, and you guys have clinched play-in position. So regardless,
our season will not end on a Bucks loss this year.
My season,
no, it probably will. My season, ours might end that way.
My season might end in a loss.
It will not be the regular season, so I'll take it. So, and we'll just talk about Shay's Nets quickly since she is not here, and we'll make the calls for her this week. So, where did I put that one? I just want the Nets. Google.
I can.
All right. So the Nets have left today at 7 the Pistons, tomorrow at 7 the Magic, or Friday at 7. Sorry, the Magic. And Sunday for their last game, the Sixers.
They finish out real strong.
They finish out 2-1 for sure.
Yeah.
I don't see any way that doesn't happen. So good for the Nets having a nice, friendly.
Bridges has been killing it.
End of the season schedule compared to the Raptors. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Back to you, Taylor. I'm done with this.
It's a tight race in like every spot. Of course, though. It's affecting ours too much.
Too much.
So Lakers, 19 titles. Warriors have had 7 titles. Sorry, I just saw that when I was checking out the playoff positions. I was just saying what's going down with that. So now let's get into the CBA agreement. So a bunch of numbers and situations that I have been trying to understand, been reading multiple articles about it a couple of different times. I will say that everything that we will be reporting is from Shams, is from Woj, from Bobby Marks, Tim Bontemps, some of the best guys at right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to what should we go to first?
Well, I got that CBS article open. I would figure
Yeah,
we just
I'm
talk
looking
about
at
them
the
in
CBS
order.
article too.
Yeah, it's the most kind of comprehensive coverage I've seen of what's come out. We should first talk about the fact that these changes are not set in stone yet. This has
Yes,
not
these are
been
all.
ratified.
This has not been necessarily released to the public. This is a very rough idea of what's going to go down. And when I say it's just a rough idea, because if we were able to understand all of this in this one article, there'd be so many loopholes.
Yeah.
So many loopholes. So, first one. Okay. Okay, so we're going to be talking
I'm at the cap and luxury tab.
Yeah, the cap and luxury.
Yeah.
So the structure of the salary cap not changing. Players and owners still going to split the league's basketball income. I
think it's important to mention that this season the salary cap is roughly 122.7 million.
Okay.
But there are teams spending as much as 191 million before taxes. That's what they're spending just on their salaries. So like it's pretty clear that the league needed to address this, because what is the point of a salary cap when you're allowed to spend $70 million more than what the cap is?
Before you don't have the money for it.
Before you even pay your taxes. Before you even, that doesn't even include the tax for being over the cap. So like this was clearly something that needed addressing. And I think the ways that they've addressed it are the ways they're trying to address it are actually like surprisingly nuanced. And I think they're going to be really effective.
So the NBA, they use a soft cap instead of the NFL's hard cap, where like this is where it's at.
Yeah.
Would you prefer that kind of cap with it, just because then you don't see teams going crazy with spending?
I am always hesitant to say that anybody should do anything the way the NFL does it as a general rule. So my inherent bias makes it hard for me to be like, yes, I think what the NBA is doing, and we're going to talk about the details, is I think it's a better solution than here's X amount of money that everybody gets to spend. I like the way that what they've decided to do says, if you want to spend that extra money because you have it, Knicks, Lakers, Warriors, whatever those other teams are, you're welcome to do that. But there's going to be some restrictions to you for spending that money. So the first thing is there's a second apron. So once a team spends 17.5 million above the tax line, let's put that into perspective again just for a second. Teams are spending up to 70 million over the tax line. Once you get over 17 million, you have a whole bunch of restrictions to what you're going to have access to in terms of the buyout market, not being able to send cash, not being able to trade picks more than 7 years out. I don't care about the calculations, how they're calculating the cap, and I don't think our viewers care either.
Nope. I don't know what 5% brackets.
So I'm literally just scrolling through here until I find stuff that's like that we care about. Okay, so free agency.
Yeah, I was gonna. Do you think we'd be able to tweet this out to everybody?
Yeah, we will send the link to this article. Actually, I will literally do it next time Taylor's talking so that it's done.
Okay.
So the second apron means if you have spent over 17.5 million over the tax cap, over the luxury tax cap, you blah 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 blah. Teams above the second apron cannot use the taxpayer mid-level exception to sign free agents.
That teams have been going crazy for the past few
Crazy
years.
for. So that means this is how it would have changed this season. Danilo Gallinari would not have been able to sign with the Celtics. Dante DiVincenzo would not have been able to sign with the Warriors. Joe Ingles would not have been able to sign with the Bucks. And John Wall would not have been able to sign with the Clippers. All of those guys are important role players when it gets to playoff time.
Clippers already cut him. Clippers cut already John Wall.
Right.
Danilo Gallinari is out for the season with a knee injury.
Yeah.
Ivanchenko, yes, is very key. Ingles, I don't know how much he's been playing for the Milwaukee. He will be key in the playoffs.
He's playing.
Okay, so two of those guys will be key. One of them got cut, and the other one's out with a knee injury.
So, but pretend they're all healthy.
No, yes.
All contending teams, all adding important role players to already stacked lineups. So that will not be possible. They also can't sign in the buyout market. This to me is huge.
Yep.
Especially for our smaller market teams. For those big teams who are already spending money not to have access to the buyout market, I think this is going to change the entire offseason. Because how many times are big players getting bought out already knowing they're going to sign with some team that's over the tax bracket? That's not going to happen anymore. That means your Raptors, your Timberwolves, your
Thunder,
Orlando, your Jazz, your Magic, your Rockets, all of those teams are going to have a chance in the buyout market that, frankly, we did not have at all before. No chance to get those guys who were unhappy with their teams, agreed that they're going to buy each other out, and they end up signing with the Lakers or the Warriors or the,
this is the teams that they know they're going to win.
The teams that they know are going to win, rather than the buyout market is supposed to be for teams to be able to improve that need to improve. And now that's what it's going to function as, because there's going to be restrictions. Unless those teams decide to get under the salary cap, there's no way those teams are getting under the salary cap until most of their core retires. The Warriors especially.
Because right now, NBA's most expensive teams rely on minimum contracts to fill out the back of their rosters. But as most minimum contracts last for only 1 year. Yeah. So that means you get it, but then you don't get it. Yeah. Right after.
So there's also, we are having a hard cap as well. If this
I'm
all
just
goes
reading
through.
That.
Limits teams to the first apron. So the taxpayer mid-level exception will limit teams to the second cap. So what's going to happen in a bigger picture? This isn't fully going to come into effect until a few seasons down the road, because these rules don't apply, as this article says, if teams are trying to retain their own talent. So your Warriors are going to be able to keep Steph, Clay, Wiggins, whoever it is, until it's time to move on from them. But after that, once these teams get back, either they're going to have to get back under the luxury tax, which makes them like all the rest of us, or they're going to stay over it, and we're still going to have, smaller market teams are still going to have better access to better players. So I think Draymond's right. I think this is the end of dynasties in the NBA, but I don't care. I'm happy about that. Most fans, I think, are happy about that. The NBA will gain sports fans from other markets by being more competitive, by not having the dynasties. And it would be okay if there had been 10 different dynasties of 3 championships in 4 years or something like that in the last bunch of years, but there's not, like we talked about earlier in the show. So it seems like Adam Silver and company have looked at this season and said, look at how competitive, look at the viewership, look.
So we're gonna then put a mid-season or an in-season tournament in.
Let's not talk about that. I was so excited, and now I'm thinking about that again. So that's what the things that they can't do. Things that they can do. Play players more money. That's pretty much the don'ts are, we talked about before. The do's are, you can give away more money to players.
If people are looking for an example, Dallas Mavericks used their taxpayer mid-level exception on JaVale McGee in the offseason. That would have triggered a hard cap at the second apron figure. However, the Mavericks crossed that second apron figure at the deadline when they added roughly $8 million in salary by trading for Kyrie. Had this rule been in effect at the time, the trade would have not been legal. So a lot of the stuff that's been going down lately won't be legal within the next 2 to 3 seasons. And of course,
it's funny because we talked about this NBA season was going to be the Wild Wild West this year, and it was, and now it's not going to be anymore. Like, this is the Pinkertons are in town clamping everything down right now.
And I will also mention, that there is other situations that are like early bird rights, non-bird rights, a couple other things that I don't know about Jade, but for me, I have no idea what that means.
No, but we should talk about the new Jaylen Brown rule, maybe.
No, yes, I was just about to say that there's a couple rules that have been made that are named after players and front office people because of how they were involved with it. So the Jaylen Brown rule, under the old bargaining agreement, most vets could sign extensions that would bump their salary up a couple percentage, 20% says in the article. It'd be 20% of the first deal of that new deal. It punished teams for signing players to contracts that were below the value, and Jaylen Brown is the example of it. This guy is an all-max player, and he is, because of where he was, he can't get 20% of what a other max caliber player could have guaranteed. So this guy, who is an all NBA, is, you could say, is getting shorted 20% just because of the way the contract agreement was. So that's why it is the Jaylen Brown rule, because this is maybe not the first case, but one of the cases that they used to look into of, oh, this is a problem that should not be happening.
Yeah, and it's not fair because the only way before this potential change, the only way they could have held on to him is if he made an all NBA team, and the media decides on that. Like, how are you going to, like, if I was him, I would be, I know, they're professionals and he's thinking about the season and all that kind of stuff, but players think about their money too. And it would be really frustrating to be Brown and think, okay, I can only make my money if a panel of people who are probably acquaintances at best decide that I was good enough to be named to an all NBA team, as the entire league is better, as there's more talent league wide than there's ever been before. My money depends on people's votes. And then as a Boston front office, our ability to retain this player depends on the votes of people. Like, Boston isn't a greatly loved city, franchise, et cetera, et cetera.
Jaylen Brown has pointed that out to us.
So, like, you're relying on the unbiased opinions of a bunch of people to affect what you can do with your roster. It's definitely a problem, and I'm glad they fixed it. And I think, where there might have been a danger of teams getting too talented, the previous stuff we talked about with the restrictions over the tax, the luxury tax line, makes this an okay move to say you're going to be able to retain, you're going to be able to have 3 supermax contracts on the team.
Sounds like the Wolves.
True.
Oh, ho, ho. But what was gonna bring up? And then so now we go with the trades.
Yes.
If we're so one thing that is now in the new agreement is you can't send out cash in trades.
If you're over the tax line.
Yes. You cannot trade first round picks that are more than 6 years into the future. The NBA allows teams to trade draft picks up to 7 years into the future, but that last season will be restricted to these teams.
See, I don't think the change from 7 years to 6 years is substantial when you're dealing with picks. Like, I think it should have been 5 or 4.
Yep. I think it should be like a full contract for the first round for the trade that you originally sent the pick for.
Yeah.
5
I
years.
like that. Yep.
And then, of course, though, blew that up. And then also, they cannot make trades that take back more salary than they sent out.
I didn't see that one the first time I was looking at this.
I thought that was already a thing.
Oh, I knew it wasn't.
So if we did all that stuff we just mentioned, this rule would restrict the James Harden to Brooklyn. Kevin Durant wouldn't be a Sun.
Yep.
Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, wouldn't make trades like he did for the 2022 offseason when he swung for Norman Powell and Robert Covington anymore.
Yeah.
No, yeah. And these teams aren't even going to be able to pay off rivals to take players from them sake of tax savings.
Yep.
Yeah, like
this is going to make for a crazy, interesting first tax season if they adopt this. First, a trade season if they adopt these rules. We're going to be figuring everything out as we go.
The first off season when all of this is officially implemented is going to be bonkers.
It's going to be crazy.
Because then hopefully by that point, I understand everything that's going through. Because, as you have seen, Jade has really taken the wheel on this part of it all. There's a reason why I went to school for journalism and English and not math. But they did one other thing, and they did not one other thing. Oh man, there's actually a couple other things I didn't even notice. Okay, now we're also talking the awards. Simple enough about individual awards, all NBA stuff, and one of the things is you got to play at least 65 games. That's what I've been wanting to say. Give me 65 games and I'm good. So right now, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, Ja Morant, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Giannis, Devin Booker, and Paul George are all under the 65 games below mark. This is weird. Joel Embiid is the one that is the healthiest of them all, and which has then put him in those standards a front runner. But that's with the rule. That's not with the rule now.
How many games has Embiid missed this year?
Well, if he's played over 65, I mean, I'd probably say games. He has so far. He's played exactly 65 games this year.
Okay. Because Jokic has only missed 9.
He's only missed 9
all season.
Okay, so it's him and Giannis.
Yeah.
Or him and Jokic.
Yeah. So the thing that I think is interesting about this is it's also going to change the way they make contracts, I think, because Supermax eligibility is tied to individual awards. So they're going to have to think about when teams are signing contracts and all of that kind of thing. I think it's going to go in favor of the teams a little bit, because if the players decide, listen, I still need my rest, blah, 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 teams are not going to have to pay them as much if they are under that 65 games. But in terms of like load management, there's a lot of space between 65 and 82.
17 games.
So I think that's a comfortable balance. I think if a player misses that many games for load management, I'm okay with 17 games.
Yeah, I'm okay.
That number doesn't bother me.
Because, I mean, if we're still going to do those load management games, okay, that's still, you can get 6 load management games right there.
Yeah.
I think that's a solid amount.
Here's my thing, though. Will we see will we see teams and coaches say letting a guy play 10 minutes of a game and sitting the rest? Because then he technically played for 10 minutes.
But that would affect the overall stat line for that player, though.
That's true.
If he goes in, only plays 5 minutes, scores 2 points, well, that 30 points per game, that's 32. I mean, I know it's only 2 games, but then that's 16 points.
No, that's true. That's true.
So that's where I'd be coming with these players looking for the stats. I mean, because for like the award winners, it goes with stats. It goes to how you did in the regular season.
Yeah.
Ignore the playoffs because we haven't gotten to that spot yet. It's what you did in the NBA season. With all of this, though, they're saying that they might switch the all NBA teams to being positionless just because, I mean, if with the new contracts they're going to be going through, they're going to be like, okay, you're going to need to have this many all NBAs or whatever on the contract.
Yeah.
I think it could be easier now. And I don't know if you agree with me, Jade, on this, but it could be, do you think it would actually be easier to make an NBA all NBA team as positionless or harder? Because like I'm thinking
I think it's easier now just because there are so many bigs that play everywhere. I think the problem that's gonna happen is there's gonna be an imbalance, especially to start, between front court and back court guys. Because I think there have been more front court guys who have deserved to be on all NBA teams and in those conversations the past few years who have missed it just because there's not room for everyone.
Yep.
So I think some years we're going to see an imbalance where we're not going to see as many guards. And that's going to cause a thing too. So I'm going to have to see how this one plays out. But that's the nature of award season in the NBA. Someone's got to get left out that deserves to be awarded every year.
Like, I understand the positionless thing, but I'm thinking like in the early mid 2000s, like one of the all NBA team first teams was Jason Kidd, Kobe Bryant. Yep. Garnett at the 3, Tim Duncan at the 4, and Shaq at the 5. So you had 2 power forwards and a center on it. So they can do, it's been somewhat done in positionless style. There is just some things where like a couple years ago, DeAndre Jordan was first team all NBA. I loved him, his playing style in with the LA Clippers. I loved it. He is not an all NBA player.
You said that. I didn't even know he was an all NBA. First team, second team, third
first team.
For what?
Pretty sure it was first team.
How? That's wow. I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like he was. Yep, in 2016.
That's crazy.
And Chris Paul made the All-NBA second team that year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Awards, yeah. Awards are always going to be subject to people's biases and opinions. So, like, I guess. I'm less interested in the awards as I am in how this is going to change the way teams are built. Especially because I think teams like my Raptors are going to, like, feast on some of these new rules.
Oh, yeah. This entire thing, in a nutshell, for everyone listening, will help out primarily the small market teams.
Yeah.
It's gonna prevent Lakers, Heat, Knicks, Warriors. They're
not gonna be able to just run away with it with just pummeling other people with all their talent and money.
So another rule coming for the end.
I am fried on CBA talk. I think we should.
Yeah, I was about
the rest
to say,
of this for as it becomes relevant to things that
okay,
are
next week. Next week, we're gonna go with. There's still 3 other topics. We're gonna go with the NBA draft. There is the in-season tournament, and then the miscellaneous side endeavors like having shares in a team, doing other side projects with stuff with other private businesses. Part of the article says private equity firm. So I don't know what that means. Have to look up that. So be on the lookout next week for that also chat, because I also want to hear Shay's take on the in-season tournament, especially, and some of the miscellaneous stuff. Mm-hmm. So, well, yeah, my head's pounding from trying to understand all that stuff. So right now, I think we can go right into the fast break, where it is the segment where I come up with 3 questions that Shay and Jade have Jade has no prior knowledge to, and I will see if she can get them correct. Okay. So, first question. Which player has over 200 threes and 80 or 100 dunks this year? A.
Ooh.
Lauri Markkanen. B. Brooke Lopez. C. Julius Randle. Or D. Who's it? Evan Mobley.
This is hard. I'm gonna say Lopez.
Good guess.
I did?
No. I said good guess, but
good guess, but it's not.
It's Markkanen.
Damn it!
It is Markkanen.
I'll take that because he was my preseason most improved player pick. I'm feeling pretty good about my odds on that.
Okay, question 2. The 2016 dunk contest between Eric Gordon and Zach LaVine. One of the greatest all time. It had to go
Toronto.
It had to go into other second rounds, tiebreakers and stuff like that. How many 50 points dunks were in between Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon that last final round? How many total?
The final round.
Between both of them. I'll do.
How many dunks were there?
Well, so there was, in the final round, there's 8.
So 4 each.
Yeah, 4 each.
I think there was 7.
Nice.
I watched
everything was 50 until Aaron Gordon's 47, which that one was a 50 as well too.
It was like, I will never forget that, especially because it was such a special All-Star for me, because it was Toronto's first All-Star weekend. It was weird because it was stupid cold here that weekend. It was the coldest weekend of the entire winter, polar vortex, the whole thing. It was so cold. But it was crazy because it felt like, the dunk contest ghost of, Vince Carter was in the building, and we got these crazy dunks from Levine and Gordon. And man, Gordon should have won, hands down. His dunks were more inventive. He hit them the first time. I will, until my dying day, I will talk about how Gordon should be not a one, but a two-time dunk champion. And that is how the NBA ruined the dunk contest.
I'll say he deserves one. I'm looking at the way that, because I'm looking online and it's saying the different kind of dunks that they did. That 2016 one, or I think it was 2016. That was Aaron Gordon's year, because eventually Zach LaVine was, and I'm not knocking doing an in between East Bay dunk, in between the legs, but that became the base of all of his dunks.
Yes.
Still flashy.
But it was the same thing over and over.
It's the same thing. You are doing a free throw line dunk through the legs. Amazing. But you did something through the legs before.
Yes.
Aaron Gordon did something different
on the fly every time. Yep.
All right. Well, the last question. I'm going to still swing around with that All-Star game stuff. Who has the most NBA All-Star MVPs awards? We have A, Kobe, B, LeBron, C, Shaq, or D, Michael Jordan?
Ooh. I want to say Kobe.
Yeah, with 5.
3 for 3 this week. No,
not the first one.
2 for 3. 2 for 3.
Yeah,
sorry.
I was going to say, not the first one.
I'll take 2.
I will say, though, he is tied for it with Bob Pettit, but that was going to be that was going to be one that was like, yeah, not even I would have been able to pull that out. That's a 50s, 60s player. But, okay, well, I think we've done a pretty solid job with only using 2 people today. West is we're going to be talking about the West. We're going to be back there again. The CBA, like I said, you're going to be hearing more from it because it's going to be an ongoing situation anyways. So you might be touching up on it for the next few months because of off season and everything like that. But okay, well, so on that note, I will bid y'all adieu with my crazy hair and have